Oh, you're welcome back from that break. This is still the AM Club coming to you live from the MX24 studios, only on the streets, East Legon, Accra, Ghana. My name is Miriam Uduak Menta. Still having conversations around the NPP primaries that's coming off on the 31st of January. I am anxiously waiting. I've never been this anxious about any elections in my life. I'm anxiously waiting. I cannot wait for Saturday to be here. But still on the conversation, Anabi, let's talk about how critical peace is to the and what peace will look like for the NPP in this elections. What is it going to be about? Unity? Is it going to be all about unity or accountability through a credible process?
Okay, a very good morning, Mimi, and a very good morning to my brother BBC. And
Why do you call him BBC?
that's his
My name is Ben in Balfour Clint.
yes.
Oh,
Yeah, so in his
sense.
student politics days,
Oh,
that was the name,
wow.
BBC, yes.
I'm glad you didn't maintain it.
And then a very good morning to the incoming president, the next president, Honorable Kennedy Akompre Kwanhine Japan, and to my bosses, Lawyer Kwesi Kwarteng Frimpong and George Sapon. So, going into Saturday, like he said, we are all anxiously waiting. In fact, all eyes are on the NPP.
Yeah.
I can say that this election even looks more competitive than probably the 2024 election.
I'm telling you.
Because when you look at the tension
yeah.
and all that. But, I am saying, and I'm saying this year, and I'm saying on record, that, this election is a foregone conclusion. Me, I see Saturday as a formality because the people have decided, and the voice of the people is the voice of God. Now, back to the question you asked. Earlier on, there were conversations around the timing of the primaries. And like I said earlier, it's very, very important that we are having the primaries at this particular time. Because first off, let's resort to the NPP constitution. It says that when you are in opposition, you must have your primaries 2 clear years to election. We are in 2026, and election is in 2028, which is 2 years from now. So, looking at constitutionality, the timing is okay.
All right.
And then again, looking at the 2024 election outcome, losing by some 1.7 million votes and having about 2.1 million votes or 2.1 million people who voted for us in 2020 who are believed to be party faithfuls abstaining from the election, it is very important that as soon as possible we regroup, we re-energize, and then we come stronger together. Because like I said, internally it is a family fight. The real battle is out there. The real battle is about rescuing the Ghanaians out of the deceptions, the theatrics, and the optics of the NDC.
Already?
Because that is all that. Oh yes. Don't worry. When Nafenyo has his press conference today, we said we'll go into that conversation.
Yeah, we will. I'll end by that. I want to understand
exactly,
what
and at least we'll touch on a couple of things. You see, like I always say, this government is good with theatrics, because why on earth should people be stranded? This morning people were stranded. Evening people are stranded. Then you have a member of parliament going to pick EV buses that were procured by the former government, which we are not using as a government to ease the vehicular congestion or the traffic situation in town. But you go and bring them and transport people for a couple of days, and people are hailing him. If there is no optics, then what else is it? Why on earth would you be spending over $10 billion on forex intervention? Meanwhile, you need just 4.5 billion to enroll your famous 24 economy. If there is no optics and theatrics, how would you call that? But like you said, we'll go into that conversation. Now, like President Akufo-Addo said, the NPP has demonstrated time and again that we have that pattern of development. So as I was referring to President Kofo's famous free NHIS, when you talk about President Kofo's free maternal care, when you talk about his free compulsory universal basic education and all that, these were monumental achievements that the NPP had. When you talk about President Akufo-Addo, the famous free senior high school policy, the 1 district, 1 factory, all the digitization drives we brought, the drip and all those things, it shows that we have again and time and again proven that indeed we have the development of the country at heart. Now, I would commend the presidential election committee led by Honorable Joe Wise. They've done a very good job so far. But going into Saturday, you see, this is one thing I have come to know. Have a free, a fair, a credible, and a transparent system. Then that way, when you lose, you know that the people decided and you lost. And this is democracy. But you see, this is just a caution to the NPP leadership and especially the election organization committee. Let's not make it look that maybe we are in favor of one candidate, because there's been some sort of glimpses that had proven that. If you could recall, during our conference last year, Mimi, I think we even came back here to discuss that at the University of Ghana Sports Stadium, times where we're using official website, official streaming site of the party to stream one person's how do you call it, submission of forms and all that. You see, some of these things do not communicate well, and I'm happy that since those times, those things have not been seen. Please, going into Saturday, maintain a free, a fair, and a credible system. When the election comes, we vote. You get 10 at the polling station, collation center, we record the 10. We do the national collation, and you've lost. We all come together and we support one candidate. Respectfully, we don't want a repeat of what happened in 2023. Where you get 92 votes at the polling station, coalition center, then 0 is recorded. When you do that, you don't expect people to smoke the peace pipe. You get it? Because then, if the system is free, it's fair, and it's credible, everyone knows that, look, this was as it was. And I was very happy when the IGP himself said that there was going to be heavy police presence and then all that. I believe that all these things will enhance the credibility of the election cycle. And, to the members of the NPP, like I've always said, this is a friendly fight. Let's be mindful, especially of the things we say. Because whatever we are saying today will be used against us tomorrow by the NDC. Beyond 31st, we all have to come together and support whoever will win. I am confident that Honorable Ken has already won this election. But one thing I would also say is that it doesn't matter who wins. Because I believe that all the 5 gentlemen have very fine track records. When you talk about Honorable Kennedy Ohene Japan, when you talk about Dr. Bawumia, Dr. Eroseduchi, one of the best education ministers we've had in this country, when you talk about Dr. Brian Champo, when you talk about Kwabena Japan, they are all excellent. But the peace and the unity we are looking for will be based on the fair and the credible system. The party should give us that, and I believe everyone will be fine and everyone will be happy.
I think early this year, or later part, I'm not sure when that interview aired, but your founding member, Nana, wasn't Nana, what was that? Kufuor made some allegations that he was sidelined at some point in your previous government, and he made some very what I would say very this I'm not going to say on national television. Oof. I'm holding back a lot today, isn't it? I'm trying to be very, very careful. But I mean, we all heard what he said. Entering into these primaries, are you looking at involving some of the elders of the party? What contributions would you be looking for from them? We saw him at the Congress here at the University of Ghana.
No, he couldn't come in person.
In person. Yes. So they played a video.
But I think earlier there was a program at I think when we were opening the Dankwa, the Patriotic Institute, for that one he was there.
He was there. So that's what we saw him at.
Yes.
So are we looking at involving some of the elders of the party to contribute in whatever way? How are we expecting them to participate in these primaries? I'm asking you.
Oh, well, I think on inclusivity, there's not been one stance that we've gone into decision-making without Council of Elders. In fact, they've always been included. The interview that you are referencing on J.A. Kufuor, I think it's just a bit of it that was highlighted for that conversation. Yes, he did establish the fact that at a particular time, it got to certain seasonal moments of the governance that certain decisions he wasn't privy to. However, you and I can attest that, he's one of the most visited former presidents in this country. Nanado has paid courtesy call on him. Mahama has paid courtesy call on him. The party leadership are always there. On his birthday, all the 5 aspirants went there. I think because of his current condition, it's not almost everything that we might see him on the screens for. And there are certain conversations that when it goes on in his house, it might not necessarily be telecasted for all of us to have access to. But I can confidently tell you that every well-meaning and good-standing leader of the party, elderly person of the party, whose wisdom has shaped the party till where we are now, has been a part of it. If you looked at the Peace Pact signing, you realize almost all of them were there. For one or two reasons, we couldn't have former President John Ejekun Kufuor there, but we had Nanado available, and we had almost all the leaders. Even for some, they were being held hand to hand, and they brought them there. I think we've had them. We've always had them. We've made good use of their availability. They've shared wisdom and insights, and they've been a part of it. Because trust me, from the way this contest began, if they weren't involved, maybe we wouldn't have seen the peace we have now. And that is evident enough that, I mean, the earlier stages were so heated that the bitterness and the aggression was excessive. But at least for now, even to 5 days to the polls, we can still see some level of calmness, and then each one of them, I think, is paying heed to an advice that has gone to him or her from whoever that it came from. And that is what unity means to the MPP. That is what acknowledging our founding members means to the MPP. And so, there's nothing like some leaders have been sidelined, or they have been actively involved. Because in fact, most of the things they are doing now, they did it in the past. The errors of the past needs to be corrected for the future. And so when you see some of these new developments in the party, it is born out of past reports that has been put up post-elections. Even with this expansion, even with having our elections earlier, if you pay attention to one interview that the secretary granted, Justin Frimpong Kodja, he made mention that there are some of the things we are doing now that were integrated from the other session of reports that we've had post-elections. And it's all brought that form of refinement and well-posturing that we have in the party as we speak.
Well said. Well, in talking about confidence of members of the party and the general public in the upcoming elections, what are the structures? What are the specific structures put in place, both internally in terms of the party and who they're presenting? How confident should we be, both general public and, of course, members of the party?
The confidence in who we are selecting.
I think before we even move to the personalities involved and who, I think one of the most important information that needs to get out to people is that we are looking at about 211,849 delegates voting in about 333 polling centers across the 276 constituencies. This is the basics of the structure for the election. Right. All these processes have been outlined alongside all the aspirants. They were all there to validate the database. In fact, earlier, the database it was almost close to 250,000 plus, and about 2,000 people were taken off. Other people were diseased as well that they needed to be expunged from the delegate album. And so from the interview that was granted by the chairperson of the election committee, he outlined some of these structures that has been put in place, even for other polling centers, other constituencies that the numbers there are more than 1,000. They have dualized the polling centers so that we will not have a lot of people there at a time. It's scheduled to take place from 7 a.m. to somewhat 2 p.m. Because the numbers are not huge. Once it's constituency based, they all get into the bus, they get to the place, and then they cast their vote. Security, as he said, has also been heightened. All the aspirants have been cautioned that they should comply with the directives and the security measures that have been put up. You may be interested in becoming a president, then it means you must comply to the directives of the nation that protects the security. So these are the structures that has been put in place that should instill that level of confidence in people that it is not a one-off conversation that we just woke up and we are going into an election. Every single person who is voting as we speak, there was a system to validate your name and be sure that you are involved. So you don't get to the polling center and then be informed that your name is not in. And I liked the way the aspirants collectively came together and they raised their issues around the album and things that were supposed to be done and what have you. And transparently, it's been done. I am certain that the system under no circumstance can be compromised, because the election committee chairperson has made it clear that the Electoral Commission has been given the mandate to run the election. And in this country, we all understand the prowess and supremacy of the Electoral Commission. They run national election, talk less of having your internal election. And so let's have confidence in the process. The media would be following keenly, and there is nothing being hidden in a room where someone goes in there to cast the vote. It's in an open space and we'd all be witnesses to it.
Okay.
I'm hoping that we'd have time to throw more light on the individual candidates before we end the show.
Yes. Okay. Before then, I mean, since because he kind of has answered the question, so let's move straight into the individuals.
Okay.
Yes.
So I think even something little on the confidence. I would also applaud like the election committee, like I said, and also from our camp, our director of elections, Honorable Jojo Rocky Obeng. They've done a very solid job, fighting the proxy voting, which I mean, in all sincerity, to some extent has outlived its usefulness. And also we have some TESCOM presidents and some TESCOM patrons who claim that they were appointed. Meanwhile, when you look at the constitution of the NPP, we don't have anything like appointed. You get it? We must go through election cycles. And all these people have been taken off the system. And our director of elections spoke yesterday, and we are more than ready. And I think when it comes to the confidence in the system, like I stated on the security and all that, we know that everything has been put in place. Now, I think the conversation we've all been waiting for, the personalities. So, why Kennedy on here Japan? You see, currently Ghana stands at a crossroads, and the NPP stands at a crossroads. Like I said, when you look at the outcome of the 2024 election, and when you look at especially the public perception of the NPP as it stands, because we need to be honest enough with ourselves as a political party if we really want to rebuild. And then when you look at some things that are happening, it goes beyond reasonable doubt that one, the NPP as a political party needs Honorable Kennedy Onyene Japan. But then secondly, Ghana as a country needs Honorable Kennedy Onyene Japan. And let me take it on the NPP's side. You see, when you are going into an election, a flag bearership election, you're not just going to choose a flag bearer just because of the luxury of it or because of the beauty of it. Whoever you are choosing should be someone who would be accepted by the general voter populace. Only 211,000 people and 834 are going to vote, less than 212,000. But after you've chosen the flag bearer, how many people are going to accept that flag bearer for him to get to the Jubilee House? We have about 18 million voters who are waiting to vote on the flag bearer. This is just a word of advice to our delegates. You may have your camp. You may have your interest. Maybe your godfather may have whipped you in line to support a certain candidate. But ask yourself the most important question. Who are Ghanaians calling for? I was speaking to some delegates on Friday and I told them, look, maybe you may not believe me because you think I'm for Honorable Kennedy Onyene Japan. If you truly want to know who to vote for, go by the streets. Go to the trotro stations. Go to the taxi stations. Go to the market women and tell them, look, I'm an NPP delegate. Who should I bring for you to vote for? Because you see, these 211,000 people, they pale in comparison to the over 18 million people who are going to vote. The streets are saying, bring Honorable Kennedy Onyene Japan and we'll vote for you. The trotro drivers are saying, bring Honorable Kennedy Onyene Japan and we'll vote for you. The teeming unemployed youth are saying, bring Honorable Kennedy Onyene Japan and we are going to vote for you. So delegates, why do we want to stress ourselves? Do we just want a flag bearer or we want a president? If we want a president, then it's Ken. But you see, it is not for any reason that people are calling for Ken. And I'll end up with that. I have done some studies. And I've realized that, look, there are three major challenges that are facing this country. And any leader who will be able to tackle these challenges head on, in fact, would go down as one of the best. And it is the main reason I'm following on about Ken. What are these three major challenges? 1, unemployment. 2, corruption. 3, galamsey. On unemployment, last year we're looking at the health data. It says by 2027 or 2028, it's estimated that we'll have about 180,000 unemployed health professionals alone. Go to Ghana Statistical Service. Out of every 12 graduates who leave the university, the state is able to employ only 2. It takes a minimum of 10 years to employ all 12. Mimi, even when all 12 are employed, do you know how much they earn? The maximum they earn is between 3,000 to 5,000 with their degree. Look at the current economic situations. You see, Ghana is sitting on a time bomb, and that is why we need Honorable Ken. On unemployment, when you look at the World Bank statistics, it says that by 2030, it's estimated that there will be 1.2 billion unemployed people worldwide. Out of that, Africa would have about some 800 million of these unemployed people. Ghana is no exception. Now, the most important question we need to ask ourselves is, I am a graduate. I finished my service just last September with Ghana Exim Bank. None of my mates that I completed school with is working now. And you see, this is beyond politics. This is the reality that is facing us. Why Ken? Ken is saying that, look, I am bringing the Asian magic model to solve the issues of unemployment. How do you do this? Bring in these investors, bring in public-private partnerships, and solve these issues. Now, Ken is a businessman. Ken is a politician. You see, Ken has the political leverage, he has the business leverage, and he has the credibility. Look, we may want to do all the politics, but if BBC today is president, someone may want to even come and invest in Ghana just because of BBC as a person. And that is the leverage Honorable Ken is bringing on board. Ken is bringing the decentralization agenda because he believes that, look, Accra is congested. How do you drive development nationwide? Decongest. That is why you go to South Africa today. We have 3 administrative capitals: Pretoria, Johannesburg, Cape Town. Look, Ken says decentralize these ministries, send them to where the resources are. Look at currently the northern region with its vast lands. Ken says, look, send the Ministry of Food and Agriculture there. Based on that, he says 80% of the Tamale airport into a cargo airport. Mimi, when you go to Tamale today, when you go to the northern region, last time I was telling Baki here, people harvest crops, they are by the roadsides and they are rotten. Ken says, with the situation of the Ministry of Food and Agriculture there, you have all other agricultural agencies like the AFD and all that situated there. You harvest your food crops, we buy them, the state transports it, 5 hours it's in Europe. You get your euros, it is back into the system. We solve these issues of forest influx. We don't need to spend $10 billion on forex intervention. You see, this is not book economics, this is practical economics. Ken is saying that even beyond and you see the Asian Magic Model agenda has been practicalized, and we've seen it. Ken is saying drive a massive agriculture, have a massive agricultural drive. How do you do this? Ken has been chairman of the Defense Committee and other committees in Parliament, and he's saying that, look, agriculture is the backbone of the Ghanaian economy. Currently, what we do is that when we send the district assemblies common fund, you know what they use it for? Administrative expenses. Ken is saying under his presidency, look, every single district must own a farm. Whether you're going to do fish farming, cattle farming, poultry farming, you must operate a farm. When you do that, you are not only feeding the nation, you are also generating some level of income at the district levels. You don't overburden the national purse. All these are initiatives that Honorable Ken is bringing on board to solve the issues of unemployment. You see, Honorable Ken has one simple message: jobs, 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 and jobs. And that is the message that is resonating with the youth. And MPP delegates, this is the reason the youth are calling for Ken. Now let me talk on corruption. When you look at the 2019 Corruption Index report, Ghana loses about $3 billion annually to corruption. Honorable Ken says, look, when he becomes president, when you steal, he will sack you, he will chase you, and he will jail you. That is why we said at a point that let Ken be Ken. Knowing Ken to be Ken, you won't dare. Why do you think corruption thrives in this country? Political correctness, political equalization. Oh, I did some, oh, but it's my party, then we protect them, then we go. Honorable Ken will not do that. Because with Ken, it is Ghana first. Look, when we solve the loophole of corruption, $3 billion. Do you know how much that can do? Do you know the number of schools that can build? The health infrastructure that can do? Ken will not shield corruption as president. And that is why the teeming youth of this country are saying, bring Honorable Kennedy and Hine Japan and we'll vote for you. Galamsey. NDC promised so much in opposition. I'm ending on Galamsey. Okay. What do we see today? What do we see? Galamsey has now become an open site, and we are operating it. And I read an article, I was by Erastus also, and you see, when you look at the issues of Galamsey, the complexities and the power struggles that are going into Galamsey, it tells you that it's basically a leadership crisis. Look, some of these people who operate in Galamsey, where they are getting their backing from, you have no idea. With Ken as president, even if it is his own son involved in Galamsey, Ken will fight it. NDC promised 24 economy. What has been done about it? Nothing. Honorable Kennedy Ohine Japan has created over some 7,000 jobs and counting. With the opening of Ashanti Steel, we are estimating to double this to about 16,000. We have the track record. It is not now that we are coming to promise you that I'll do it when I become president. I am not president, but I am doing it. I am not president, but I'm fighting corruption. I am not president, but I can speak against my own party when there are issues of corruption that I feel are not right. I am not president, but I can tell people the truth as it is. Do we? And you see, sometimes people talk about some so-called presidential material. But currently we have millions of youth unemployed. These are the things that lead to social vices: prostitution, armed robbery. Do we want someone who speaks good grammar? Do we want someone, sometimes so-called humility and all that? Please.
Are we
Ken,
shading now?
it's about pragmatism.
Okay.
NPP delegates, the Ghanaian people who are suffering from unemployment, my friends who have completed school 5 years, 10 years, are saying they don't have jobs. Ken is the solution with all the measures I outlined to you. Issues of corruption, Ken is the only person in Ghana who can be trusted, not to be politically correct, not to do political equalization. It's about Ghana first. Galamsey, Ken is the only one who is coming to fight it head on, because he won't care whether you are MPP, you are NDC. Ken won't care. If for nothing, based on these three issues, let's choose Ken, and he's the right person for this country.
All right, Inanabi. Thank you so much for that very intense submission. BBC, over to you. About your candidate, you represent Dr. Mahmoud Baumia.
Yes.
You have.
I think, I have, since this internal contest began, aside the fact that I decided not to be on the screens for obvious reasons of the NDC's government. One of the reasons was to also avoid moments when we have to wash our dirty clothes in the screens. And so, I'll be measured. I understand. I understand the expectations of my brother and the number of people he needs to impress out there. So.
These are
wow,
real
this is
issues.
how
These are real issues that we are looking
supposed
at.
to be you being measured.
I've been very quiet.
Yes, this supposed to be you being measured.
You don't have to interrupt me.
Okay.
So I understand his angle and his subtle jabs. I noticed that yes, it tells us that the MPP clearly, even of all the aspirants, each of them has an initiative that looks at targeting the challenges that we have in this nation. I like the fact that he also outlined some challenges and outrightly said that his candidates can solve it. But that's just by the way. On conversations on Dr. Mahamudu Baumia, I think I should first acknowledge the team that are behind Dr. Mahamudu Baumia. They've been exceptional and they've been very diligent at post. One of the things that I always tell people is that the corner that Dr. Baumia is in is one that requires a lot of due diligence and a lot of calmness. You are in a position where you worked with a former president who was, and after whom we lost power. Whether you had issues with some of the decisions he took or not, one, under the oath of secrecy, it's quite difficult for you to come out and say that when they were doing this, I didn't necessarily want to support it and what have you. And so if you listen to the messaging of Dr. Baumia, he's been very measured to make sure that the bygones, for which reason we've been punished for, in a way of clearer understanding, in a humane way, he's run the delegates through some of them during the thank you tour, and then he switched into the campaign. We have 211,849 delegates. Should anything change in that, I think it would be made known. Dr. Baumia has visited all constituencies and he's doing his final touches with the Ashanti region. And we also have Samira doing sweeping and follow-ups from the other regions that he's done, that is in Greater Accra. The conversation around who becomes the next flag bearer centers predominantly on a presidential material, not just a flag bearer. When we make mention of a presidential material, a lot of things come into being. And the presidential material conversation boils down to how appealing that person would be able to secure votes, how befitting that person is within the trajectory of our politics. I would borrow one of the inspiring words from our very own venerable political person, Samuel Ewuku. He said that there is wisdom in consistency. Sometimes when your blood is too hot, you say things out of context. And so we are in a context of having someone that will present to Ghanaians, then we'll project the voice of what we want to do for Ghanaians. In this current dispensation that we are in our politics, what we are looking for from a candidate are three major things. The presidential material component, one, would look at the marketability of the candidates. That delves into the wisdom of consistency conversation. When you look at the history of the MPP, you would get to know that not MPP, the history of the Ghanaian politics, it has been clearly established, only for 2012, where then Mahama, out of issues of our former president, Mills, he had to take over, and then sympathy and other things worked in his favor. But you realize that for candidates that have had that opportunity to be repeated after some past sessions of losing the polls, they came in and they won. When you look at President Mills, he came against President Kufuor. He came for the first time, he lost. He came for the second, and then he won. Nanadu came against President Atta Mills. The first time he lost, second time, and then third time he won. I will not talk about the 2012 of Mahama, but I'll talk about the 2024 of Mahama. The consistency. Trust me, during 2016, there was no particular politician who was most annoying to Ghanaians than Mahama. In fact, people had to shut down their campaigners because of Dumso. In fact, there were certain challenges that were overwhelming that people even wished that Mahama was not even a Ghanaian. But you know what? The NDC took time to monitor the trajectory of our politics and realize that whoever that will be visiting the polls in 2024, given that nobody has broken the 8 in this Fourth Republic, it is going to be a difficult one for the MPP to break it. However, they also need a candidate that has been well marketed in terms of personality. I'll define the marketability on the context of Bawumia, but on Mahama, he was popularly known. Mahama was well known. At the mention of Mahama, you didn't really have to even give a message and people know Mahama already. As against our candidate who was appearing on the ballot for the first time, given the conditions we'd gone through in our second term in office. It was really difficult. Now we move on to the marketability of Bawumia moving into 2028. When I talk about marketability, I don't refer to only popularity. I refer to ideas and ideologies that this individual has engineered that today is still working in the interest of the nation. I've always said that in this 1 year of the NDC government, there is no single activity the NDC embarks on, and the next thing we don't mention Bawumia. When there was an issue on this appreciation of the dollar and what have you, out of the blue, we had neutral voices on Facebook posting that, wow, the domestic gold purchase program, which was introduced by Bawumia, has been outstandingly positioned well, and it's one of the things that is supporting the economy when it comes to how we are pushing our currency. When conversations around transport even came up, people were raising concerns on the EV buses. That was an initiative, commercializing a busing system that is one affordable, quite accommodating, and quite convenient for people. If you've joined the EV bus before, you'd know that, I mean, it is not something huge, but it was difficult for someone to be in office and think about an initiative like that. When you look at the mobile money interoperability, I've always said that conversations on mobile money interoperability sometimes becomes personal to me because earlier, you couldn't do that cross transfer of funds to other networks. Even transfer from your bank to your mobile money somewhat was quite also difficult. But out of the mobile money interoperability, I have said that it's been long I visited Cowbank. It's been long I visited my banks because I could just do a transfer from my phone to my account. You know what that has done? When such initiatives of marketability comes in, it breeds job creation. In where I stay, we've had a number of mobile money vendors that are all over. And you see, when you make mention of this, I get people saying that, what are you trying to say? But the point is that if first I need to go to the bank to do a transfer, now I will just transfer the funds from my bank to my mobile money. Even if it is 100,000 that I've transferred to my mobile money, I need to withdraw. The interesting part of it is that these Momo vendors, one person might not have that lump sum of money because of security measures. So we have a lot of mobile money vendors all over because now people don't go to the bank. I literally bank on my phone, I visit a Momo joint, and then I make a withdrawal. And today, MTN can attest with their data the number of people that have opened mobile money. That is people creating jobs for themselves. When you look at the conversation of the digital address system, which is an initiative marketable enough to project a leader, the digital address system is out of the digital address system is what we have the ride-hailing apps operations in this country. We've been in this country where taxi drivers have really had their time on us for a very long time. They charge you by just estimating your location, and when you are getting closer and they think it's far, they say they will not go again. I understood them, because one, they couldn't determine where the house, they couldn't locate it, they couldn't track how they can come back, and even pricing became a challenge. On what basis do they tell you they are charging you this amount of money? But out of the digital address system, now people are able to trace where they are going, locate where they are heading to, and people now feel safe to be involved in this ride-hailing app. So today, if you have Bolt, Uber, and a lot, I tell you the number of people that are doing Bolt, Uber, Yango, and even this Shagzi local ride-hailing app that is out, you'll be marveled. These are jobs. The reality is that he mentioned that when you look at the unemployment, he did his service at Exim Bank, and then people were not employed. That is true. It is going to take a while for the government to expand its coffers to be able to recruit more people into the space. But as a leader, one of the things you need to look out for is how to create the job for the people, how to let people own their businesses. I tell you, someone is doing both, and if the person tells you the amount of money he makes in a week and you multiply it by a month, you'll be marveled compared to someone who is working in a bank. And some of these are born out of some of these digital initiatives. I admit sometimes when people raise conversations on the fact that this particular person was in office and economy and what have you, we collectively go to the polls to elect president. We collectively run the economy. We collectively run this nation. Now we collectively make errors. We come out of power, and someone feels that we should point fingers to one person because we said, Mimi, you are the host of this program. But Mimi, if you're hosting this program and there is a technical challenge, we can blast the cameraman, we can blast the entire team. We shouldn't just say that, Mimi, you have collapsed the program. That shouldn't be the case. Do you understand? That is what it means to be a leader within this particular space. Conversations on what you would do when you are in office and what have you would all bear out within time. But what I'm trying to say is that, one, Bawumia has distinguished himself with initiatives that have stood the test of time. Today, neutral people, the last time, Senyo Hosi on Joy News rightly said that he applauds Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia for introducing the domestic gold purchase program. And under it, we have the gold for oil and gold reserve. We increased the tons of our reserve to about 30 tons from 0.8 or 0.9, if my figures are right. But then it was lesser. And out of that today, we have these activities running supportedly to the NDC government under the gold board, because we have more than enough gold in our reserve. And so whatever that they are buying, they can sell it out, get more forex, and decide to misuse it as they are doing. Okay. But what I want to establish that we have a candidate who is marketable beyond popularity. Aside his popularity, he's very marketable. My brother made mention of some few things. He's popular. He's popular. He's the people on the street and what have you. Mimi, I think you're a media person. Your people have been. You are a media person, basically. Your people have been on there. I have a video here. If you want me to show it to you, I can give you my phone.
Oh, I wish we had time.
It's Adum TV that has visited the market women. It's Adum TV that has visited the market women, and they are engaging people on the streets. The very streets that they kept trying to make it look as if the street is for them and what have you. And if you listen to the depth of knowledge these individuals have on why we should choose Bawumia, you'll be shocked. I'm telling you. So, dear the leagues, where we are heading to as a nation is about, one, a candidate that has the unifying spirit to be able to say that we've lost an election, and so I should be able to call Ken, I should be able to call Brian and bring all of us together. But not a candidate who would sit at Peace Park's meeting and not even want to smile at Brian because he feels perhaps, a day before that Peace Park's meeting, there had been some broadcast messages that has been shared. And they were trying to do a rebuttal to it to correct it. And the first sense that it is coming from DMB, don't support. Then it came again that it is coming from Brian, don't support. So they were finding it difficult to know who exactly shared it, if it is not them. But I noticed that thing really got to the man. Subsequently, he mounts the platform and starts saying that he's a liar, this man is a liar, he's a liar, he's a liar. And I ask myself that, where is that level of materialistic posture of a president? As when you talk about ideas, when you talk about initiatives, when you talk about what it takes to run a nation, Mimi, you and I can attest that when you put honorable on, when you put the other candidates on it and you put Bawumia, he has distinguished himself firmly on that grounds from what initiatives he has introduced that have stood the test of time till now. He is well marketed, people understand what he's up to, and he is well known. I've always said that when I've last 2 days I was going to Konongo from
my team is done.
No, let me end. Let me end. I was going to Konongo from Accra. And I noticed that when we got to everywhere that you'd get to, I always say that yes, this might not really be important to people, but you realize that people still have the Baumia shirts they are wearing.
Oh, please, okay.
And you see, I think the popularity is quite admirable, and then we should.
We don't have 1 minute. But you know, we have this whole week to discuss these topics, and so you'll be back here to continue. Saturday is your day. So thank you.
The camp that makes poker and
so Mimi.
Okay,
otherwise,
you have your 1
so
minute.
another thing.
You have 1 minute. Clinton, you made your point. You made your point. Clinton.
BBC. When you talk about,
you gave him a lot of time.
I didn't get. I gave you more time. My
producers
producers are shouting now that I gave you more time than I gave you.
Exactly. So you know what he's coming to do. He will not speak and go scot-free.
When Brian was smiling at Ken, there was an address being given, and Ken was focused. Then
Ken was focused on what?
But let me touch on the marketability, okay? You see, when you talk about Dr. Baumia's whole thing, and you give examples with President Mahama, what you're indirectly saying is that, then 2028 is a foregone conclusion. Because when President Mahama was rejected in 2016, it took 2 election cycles for him to come. Unless BBC wants to tell me, a young person sitting here, that I should wait till probably 2032 or 2036.
But in 2028, is NDC still presenting Mahama? What are you talking about?
For his
there is a context to that conversation. So don't go on that
that's not the point. But
there is a context to that conversation.
Let me clarify this.
We are saying that the popularity and marketability of Mahama.
I give you the respect.
But what you saying is right.
You people claim you have a presidential material. You people claim you have a please ask presidential. You people claim you have the president.
No, but I'm not the president. I will not let you misbehave. If I should ask me, what are you talking about?
Let me talk about the
you that you are entire, you are misbehaving. You are telling me that.
How am I misbehaving? When you are running for position on the ticket of the MPP, the MPP becomes a trump card. So it goes beyond you, the individual. So when you look at Dr. Baumia's 4.7 million votes, currently we have some concrete about 3.5 million to 4 million people who are MPP people who will vote for you just because you are MPP. It's not because of who you are. Me, that I'm seated there, if I go and contest for president today on the ticket of the MPP, people will vote for me just because I'm MPP. And it's not because I'm marketable. So that marketability debate is false.
No, the marketability
Ken is more popular than your
on the
candidate.
premise of
But you see,
initiatives
when you look
that
at the
have stood the
appeal,
test of time.
when you look at the
What are you
appeal,
talking about?
CB3,
cannot even contain his
no, he's circling because I'm giving him the facts. Mimi,
What facts are you giving?
Peace FM.
Okay.
What are you talking about?
Okay, all right. So we know in terms of marketability, both candidates are eligible to be, chosen to lead the MPP. Still on conversations of the MPP primaries coming up on the 31st of January. We see the posture of the MPP, and we're saying that in terms of confidence, are we still very confident in whether or not the MPP is able to run a very free and fair election on the 31st? But ladies and gentlemen, connect with us online. It's hashtag the AM Club. My name is Miriam Udwak Mensa. See you again tomorrow from 7 a.m. to 10 a.m.